Sports Network.
Yeah, I've been closer to Jesus before, so can you help me out? Oh, can you help me out? Am I on my own? Am I on my own? Or can you help me out? Am I on my own? Am I on my own? Or can you help me out? Can you help me out? I've been scared to look in my soul. I've been afraid I would follow the road. Yeah, afraid of the things I've been told.
Hello, everybody. Welcome inside a Monday episode of Running Point on ysnlive.com. Brought to you, as always, by Greenwood Chevrolet. You know what? That's this. I'm not doing it. In Austin Town. Anthony Hartley here alongside Mr. Ty Bartell as we are here to recap the entire weekend of football. It was a great weekend. Everything was on Friday. We had a whole huge Friday slate, a lot of fun results. Ty, before we dive into every single result, we break down the games. What were some of your takeaways of week 7?
I mean, there's everything that's to be expected, you could throw it out the window. There's a lot of upsets in this week too that we saw, and a lot of surprises, I think. But I mean, that's why they say any given Friday.
There were some games, and we'll go into, but there were some games that like maybe the results weren't unexpected, but the way the game went about were unexpected, or the fact that this team put up a really big fight, or this team had only an 8-point lead at halftime, and things like that. I was like, oh man, things are getting wild in week 7. But a couple of them were able to pull away, a couple of them actually got upset. So let's dive into it.
For sure.
Ty, let's start with the game you were at, of course. Like we always do, the games that we are at, we can speak most intelligently about. Fitch bounced back with a big win.
Yeah, I mean, no doubt. And it was really defense that carried its way through there. I mean, 35-3 was the final score in this, and I mean, only a field goal allowed in the second quarter was the only bit of offense that Fitch allowed. The biggest thing was it was the defense that got the win for him this time around. We saw offensively some fumbles in the red zone, 2 key fumbles that Strongsville was able to take away from Fitch was huge in just stopping those drives and curbing the momentum for Fitch. But a connection from Deshaun Vaughn to Dominic Perry was able to get the Falcons their first touchdown, and then a huge interception by Vaughn right before the half, and then right back on offense, Vaughn tossed it to Dan Evans to put the Falcons up 14-3. And that point, you really felt like Fitch had it in the bag from that point. But, I mean, really, big dog of the week last week, and he showcases just why, man. Gets an interception again on the defensive side, and just puts up another 4 touchdown, 16 for 17 completion, 16 for 17. I mean, like, he does it all, man. He's really, really good, and I think he's really surprising a lot of people. Not surprising, I don't think the Austintown community, I think they knew what they had, but I think surprising a lot of people outside of it.
All right, when you look at it, though, this propels them into a game with Wadsworth, and I was looking because
good team too.
Fitch put up a graphic with all like their whole schedule and what those teams have been doing, and Wadsworth's coming off a 49-3 win over Stowe. But I mean, there's still, I think, and this is just me being the coaching mindset. Like there's still a lot of things that Fitch needs to kind of tighten up a little bit, like some silly mistakes here and there that are like, oh.
Tuning into the scoreboard show after with Mike Ackelson, that was one of the things I highlighted too, was they got crushed in the penalty game back-to-back weeks now. And that's something you can't afford to really have against a Wadsworth team. Luckily, Strongsville, they've had their struggles this season. You were able to take advantage of it. Defense, again, showcased. Again, you can't take any defense lightly, and they came up big. But the biggest thing was Fitch's defense was able to respond, hold Strongsville's offense off. it's a lot harder to do that with Wadsworth. This was a 38-28 game last year between the Falcons and the Grizzlies, and Wadsworth had their chances to take one on the road in Austintown last year. You know the Grizzlies want some revenge going into this game, and this is a 5-2 team. Like I said, should be a good matchup.
All right, so when you look at it, the rest of some of the other scores that came around, Ursuline fell to Akron St. Vincent St. Mary 35-28. The Irish's second loss of the season, and the same kind of thing kind of bit them. Turnovers, a couple of turnovers against St. V's, and that put their defense in some bad situations, and they're unable to overcome those. They lose by 7 to a very good St. Vincent St. Mary team.
No doubt a very good St. Vincent St. Mary's team. And, Ursuline had their opportunities in this one as well. There was plenty of opportunities for Ursuline to take this game. But I think you highlighted it too, if I recall, Anthony. A late pick kind of helped St. V's steal that one. And it was from that point on that it kind of just felt like St. V's had that 1-1.
On the other end, D.C. Farrell got another interception in his utility belt. He is just a monster in the secondary for the Irish this year. So he gets another kind of tool in his belt. I think a lot of people knew him as a quarterback, but and trying to find out, where Ursuline was going to utilize him the most, and definitely he's an offensive weapon that they utilize. But I was really surprised by how good of a defender he's turning out to be, and how good of a secondary leader he's turning out to be. He ends up with another interception in his tool chest. And look, Ursuline will take tough losses against these kind of teams if it prepares them for the playoffs, especially this year when they're going up a division, so they're Division 3. I think for the first time, I think as far as I've ever known them, they've been either 4 or 5. I've never seen them as high as 3. I know back when they won state with the Keys Teague, they were 5. So this is maybe can't confirm this because I don't know the whole history of Ursuline, but maybe the highest division they've been, at least in a long time. So they have to really gear up for D3 playoffs because it's a different animal.
Yeah, I mean, there's different teams, different challenges that you're going to have to face right now. And I mean, this is an Ursuline team that we fully expect to be in the thick of it.
Mm-hmm.
And I mean, if there is a team, like if you're going to say one of our YSN teams in Division 3, I mean, one of 3 come to mind right off the bat that can make a state title run, and one of those names are the Ursuline Irish, that for me at least.
Like at the end of the day, there's the Steel Valley Conference, but I mean, Ursuline would sacrifice a couple of regular season losses for a state, championship any day. So anything that kind of, if it exposes weaknesses and things they have to fix, they can take care of it.
They weren't 10-0 last year when they made their run. And I mean, that's what they're saying too.
I remember last year there were games that, they could have lost. There were still games like this where that exposed their weaknesses. They just happened to have the ball roll their way last year. They could have easily gone 8-2 last year or 7-3 with the way some of those games went. So I think the games like this, like I said, they expose a couple of cracks in your armor. They let you go in the lab and fix stuff, and Ursuline's going to be, I think, just fine despite being 5-2 now on the season.
Yeah, I think they're going to be fine as well. They'll still get a decent ranking, we expect, and they still got 3 weeks too to figure out those weaknesses and shore them up before the playoffs.
It's going to be a tough last 3 weeks of the season, but they're looking to stride before the playoffs. Next score to come in, and these were just in order of the score. I was actually surprised that Ursuline was the first final to pop in because it was such a close game. Garfield 56-14 over Campbell. They continue to roll. I think Garfield feels a little under the radar in Division 5 because they don't have that big name in Anthony Dema anymore, but they're still just keeping on. Their only loss is to Warren JFK on a walk-off 2-point conversion, and they're taking care of business inside their conference. Keegan Sell, if you don't know that name, he's putting together a great season. He has close to 1,000 yards already. He's on pace to being a 1,000-yard rusher for Garfield. I think he's sitting at 836 through 7 games, and they're looking good. Garfield is just kind of one of those programs that knows how to win.
I'd love to see a Garfield South Range matchup in the playoffs too, just because of the size of both those teams, and just to see those two Lockhorns, I think it'd be a fun matchup for sure.
That'd be a great YSN matchup. But you look at Division 5, I mean, you still have Garraway in there, which would be a good matchup for Garfield Garraway.
They're definitely, yeah.
You look at Division 6, I mean, you still have Ysn Running Point. I mean, you still have Ysn Running Point. I mean, you still have Garraway in there, which would be a good matchup for Garfield Garraway. Perry is in Division 5 as well. They lost to Kirtland this week, but who's not losing to Kirtland?
Yeah, a lot of people lose.
But Perry was the team that West Branch had to beat in the regional semifinals last year to get to the regional finals. So they moved from Division 4 to Division 5. So they'll have something to say in that Region 17. And then you had, of course, South Range in that region as well. So, there's a lot of teams that Garfield's going to have to contend with. But you're right. Garfield, South Range, we've seen it in the playoffs before, and we'll probably see it in the playoffs again.
You can't forget, too, Cardinal Mooney moved up as well. They're number 11 in those in the computer rankings right now.
They're sneaking up, and if they get a couple more wins, they could be flirting with the host site.
Garfield's number 8 right now. They're holding on to that home field advantage, at least for that first playoff game. The G-men are definitely looking to climb a little bit, and there's still room.
They have the bulk of the MVAC on their schedule left, right? Because they have Brookfield still.
Let me double check. I'll get.
They haven't played Brookfield yet.
Yeah, they got Brookfield in week 9. They got Crestview this week, which is going to be an underrated game. I think that'll be a good one. And then Liberty's their last one. But that Brookfield match, you want to talk about that's a slobber knocker that you're going to see, I think.
Beaver Locals offense continues to roll 65-7. They go on the road and beat Harrison Central. The Fighting McNuggies. They look angry even in week 7 after that week.
Goodness, 2. Man, that's 3 60-point games for the Beavers in the last 4 weeks. It's unbelievable the offense that we're seeing. And a 4-2 Harrison Central team going into this week.
For a while, Jefferson was the one that had the cape of the best defense, best offense in YSN statistically, but now it is emphatically belonging to Beaver Local, statistically the best offense in the YSN family.
I mean, it's incredible to look at, and you look at 210 points of offense to just 17 points allowed defensively.
That's why I wish they would play Edison, because
that's their last 4 weeks. That's incredible.
Imagine an Edison Beaver Local matchup, what that would look like. A great defense versus a great offense. It's the typical, my best against your best mentality. That would have been a really, really cool matchup.
They got Indian Creek at home coming up this week before Cleveland John Hay, which we always know is a solid team. They're 6-1 this year, so that'll be a good game.
We move on to the next one, 48-13 Salem. They get the win over Minerva, a bounce back win for Salem after losing to Alliance the week before. Salem's offense is not the problem. I mean, they scored pretty much at will against Alliance, 31 points, 48 points here. But it's nice to see their defense kind of locked down this week after a tough 41 points given up last week against Alliance.
Salem now has gotten to the 9 spot in the Region 13 computer rankings, and they would be matched up with Woodridge in that first round, going to Woodridge. But, for Salem, they still got plenty of time and plenty of room to make up. And you look at those points, there's still slim margins. Salem can get as high as 6 still within 1 week.
And remember, Carrollton and West Branch still on their schedule, too.
Yeah, absolutely. So great games still on the schedule. And if you win one of those games, you're going to pick up some points.
Well, yeah, I think if you win 1 of 2 against West Branch or Carrollton, you'll at least, I mean, I don't know what the gap is between 8 and 9, but you might have that secure a playoff hosting spot.
You very well could too. I mean, that would put them at 6 wins then on the season. It very well could.
6 wins would get you an 8 seed. Like that's kind of
depends on who those wins are against.
No.
Right? I mean, and you got to remember that win against Beaver Local is looking great right now. With every win that the Beavers are getting, it looks great for Salem, and that's helping them climb. And
for the computer points don't factor in how much Beaver Local is winning.
No, I mean, wins are still counted in.
If they did, then those computer points would jump because Beaver Local is definitely passing the eye test right now. And you're looking at a Salem team that went there and really beat them handedly.
Just crushed them, yeah.
So we move on to the next score. And it is United winning this game 42-6 over East Palestine. This is one of the games I was talking about. You look at the final score, it's as expected. United ran away with this game. But you look at the breakdown of this game, Ty. Scoreless after 1 quarter. 14-6 United leads at halftime. It was a battle for a half of football. I don't think United expected it to be. I think they got punched in the mouth a couple of times by East Palestine's defense, a couple of turnovers. It was definitely one of those ones that United had to battle through a little bit of a slow, groggy start, but eventually they found their groove. Eventually they were able to run away from East Palestine. Grant Knight is now the United record holder for most catches in a career. He has 110 and counting now. The record was 109. He broke it against East Palestine. Now he's looking for the career receiving yards record. He still has that on his list. We talked to him about that earlier this season on some of the goals that he set for himself. So congratulations to Grant Knight on being the new record holder for career catches at United, and they win 42-6. But once again, these are one of the games like we didn't expect it to go kind of the way it went. The final score maybe not unexpected, but the way it transpired, me and Ack and everyone here in the audible call were looking at each other like it's nothing after one quarter. It's 14. Like East Palestine is in this game. East Palestine took a 6-0 lead, if I'm not mistaken. I was like, okay.
For United too, it's a nice win because it keeps them in pace with the EOAC standings as well. Still gives them that opportunity to potentially grab a piece of the EOAC standings. And for East Palestine side, it just goes back to, the Bulldogs are continuing to improve, and you're going to see that on the football field. From the Bulldogs teams from a couple years ago where maybe this game was over in the first quarter or halfway through the first quarter. They fought it out for a half. It's a team that needs to get used to putting 4 quarters of football together, but they're getting better, and you can see those improvements week to week.
How about halftime adjustments for United? They had 14 points going into the locker room. They scored 21 in the third quarter.
It's quick strike ability too, and that's what the best offenses have. That way, it's so hard to hold some of the best offenses down because of that.
I would assume Coach Ogilvy had some select words in the locker room for that, and lit a fire under United that they went out and they took care of business in the second half. This next team, they took care of business too. Valley Christian, they get the ho-hum 40-10 victory over Columbiana on the road. And they just keep on keeping on. What else can you say about Valley Christian? They're on this war path, and this week it was Columbiana in the way. They're not showing a chink in the armor. They're not showing any signs of slowing down. They're not playing down to their opponent. They're just kind of, hey, you're in front of me now. Boom, take care of business. Move on to the next.
This upcoming matchup now. This upcoming matchup with Southern could very well be the EOAC championship because if Valley Christian wins.
Yeah, it is in the sense that like whoever wins this game has a piece of first place.
Yes, yeah, they would most likely have a piece of first place because there's likely not a chance that any of these teams are falling except if Southern wins, they have that Week 10 matchup with United still, and
it's not like an end of the championship, but it's definitely a first place battle.
It definitely
is in first place.
Unless there's a major upset along the way with somewhere else in the EOAC, because if Valley Christian wins, they would have Wellsville and East Palestine to follow.
They win. Let's just be honest. They probably win the EOAC.
They would be favorites going into it. I wouldn't say anything else but that. But yeah, if Valley wins this one, they likely could lock up the EOAC the next 2 weeks. Southern wins it. Then all of a sudden that Week 10 matchup with United is huge.
Then it's a three-way tie at that point because United would be a 1-loss. Southern would have would have no losses, right?
No, Southern would have Southern would
actually be in first place for that point. So it wouldn't even be a three-way tie. They would just take
a battle for first place.
Southern is undefeated. This is a straight-up battle for first place. But then, like you said, that Week 10 matchup becomes really interesting because if Southern wins but then falls to United,
you have a three-way tie.
Three-way tie. And I don't know how they break that in the EOAC. Every conference is a little bit different.
It'd be pretty wild to see, but this is a big stepping stone for first place for both these teams. Southern is another team. I know we're talking Valley Christian, but Southern's another team that hasn't looked like they've slowed down at all. They had that real close game with Crestview early on this season, but ever since that point, they've really been it's again 2 trains on the same track chugging towards each other.
And it's all happening in the Wigwam this week.
That's crazy, too.
Crazy things happen down there in Wigwam.
And this could be a case, too. Two power ranked teams. We're going to get to our power rankings later, but 2 power ranked teams that have been featured multiple weeks now. It's a big matchup, too, and that could have implications there as well.
I guess we get to see what happens when an unstoppable force meets an unmovable object on Friday night,
For
because
sure.
that's a perfect metaphor of this matchup clashing between Southern and Valley Christian. It'll be a big one, but what I think might be an advantage, and we'll talk about this as we get further in the week and we preview this game. Valley's already been in a first place matchup, right? Because when they played United, that was both teams undefeated. Whoever wins takes the hold of first place in the UAC, and Valley was up for that test full heartedly. Now I know Southern and United are two different challenges. They bring completely different styles of football, but at the same time, like Valley's been here. They're like, okay, we've already played a team for first place. So this would be Southern's first kind of big monumentous game of the season.
It's going to be a big one for sure. I mean, like we said, Southern still has United in week 10. So
Yep.
2 huge matchups for Southern in the last 3 weeks.
It's a 3-horse race. Obviously, United is a big Southern local fan this week, and they have to take care of business too.
Valley Christian's the horse that's in the lead, though, right now. I mean, they already have the win over United. So Valley Christian, they have their own destiny. Their destiny is in their hands. They win tonight, they likely win the EOAC this year. Or tonight, I should say this week. They win this week, they win the EOAC.
South Range, no problem at all against Niles. They put up the goose egg on defense, 55-0. They beat the Dragons, and Niles, we all know they're a little bit injury driven, and they had one glimpse of light on a kickoff return that took them down to, I think, the Raiders 30. But after that, they gained like 3 yards. South Range took over on downs. I think the first play of the next drive, they scored like this. And after that, it was just like it was done.
Yeah. I mean, Raiders did what they needed to do, took care of business, and got the big win. Move on to next week. And what'll be an intriguing matchup going up, I should say, to Ashtabula County.
We'll get to that, but it's a lot less intriguing than it was before week 7.
It's a little bit less intriguing, but it's still an intriguing matchup just because the style of offense that Jefferson brings. I mean, we could see a lot of high flying passing offense in this game.
Billy Skirpak, he continues to impress. His completion percentage way up there. And South Range is just, they're on a different level. They're looking for a state championship in Division 5. They see Kirtland out of that division. Their eyes are getting wide open. And they're trying to prove that they're one of the best teams, not just in the region, but in the state, in their own division.
No doubt. They see a path to a state championship, and they're trying to take full advantage.
You know what I love? Coach Yeagley's going to find probably 10 things on that film that he's not happy about, that he wants to fix.
Great
teams do it. And I know Coach Yeagley, probably that kickoff's going to be one of them. Like, hey, guys, special teams, we can't let teams start their offensive drive on the 30-yard line. More teams than not will take advantage of that. Jefferson will take advantage of that. If we give them a 60-yard kickoff return and they are able to start their offensive possession at the 30, let's not do that anymore.
Yeah.
So Boardman heartbreaker in Boardman as they fall to Warren Harding on a walk-off field goal, 24-21. This was a game where Boardman had a 21-13 lead. Warren Harding fought back. They scored the touchdown, 2-point conversion to tie it. They got the defensive stop and then went down the field and kicked the field goal at the goal line. I mean, it was a chip shot field goal. And me and Ack and everyone at the audible call, like, we don't know always what the time clock is exactly. So we're sitting here like, we knew it was late in the fourth quarter, and we're like, if I was Warren Harding, like, it's on the goal line, I would just go for it, go for the touchdown lead. So, Boardman has to score a touchdown. Didn't know it was like 3 seconds left in the game. So obviously, great decision by coach to say, you know what, let's just get there, not put the ball at risk, just kick the field goal, get out of here with the win. But it was funny because me and everyone in the audible call, we were like, man, this is an interesting decision to go for a field goal. And then he kicks it and everyone starts celebrating and running on the field. I'm like, I guess that was the game.
And that's the game.
That's the game. But yeah, the props to Warren Harding, because we've been on them for it feels like the last 2 years of not being able to make game-winning plays against good teams down the stretch. And they broke that mold this week, and they made their game-winning plays. They came back from being down by 8, and they won. So it's a tough one for Boardman because their next 3 games are brutal, and they have to win at least one of them to have a chance in the playoffs, maybe 2 of them. But this was a win that Boardman needed. This was a winnable game that they needed on their slate so they could go into that last stretch of the season saying, we win one of these games, we're in the playoffs. But now you might have to win two of them. You probably do have to win two of them, to be honest. In that division, division 2?
Yeah, they're 16 right now. Harding
16. So they didn't drop.
No, they're 16.
That's interesting because they were sitting on 16 right before this week.
They're 16. Harding is 17. They still have 0.6 and some change of a lead too. 6.0286 to 5.4098.
Well, I don't know who's in 8, like who else is behind them, but I'm looking at like Warren Harding's rest of the schedule. That's definitely not a gimme either. So it's not a guarantee that Warren Harding is going to go and grab points.
I mean, I think Mooney this week can absolutely push the Raiders, and I think it's going to be an interesting game. And then you follow that up. I mean, Fitch is at the end of the season, and Cheney before that.
And you look at Warren Harding, so they are now 2-5 with the win over Boardman, but their last 3 games are Mooney at home, Cheney on the road, and at Fitch. So if Boardman's sitting right in front of them, Boardman's.
I mean, you look at it too, and Rhodes is another team, but they're 3 points behind Boardman. So you're.
Look at this. I mean, Boardman's 16, but they're 4-3. Excuse me.
Yeah,
4-3, and the next team below them is 2-5.
No team above 3 wins below Boardman except for Akron Ellet.
I stand corrected. Boardman might just need, one win locks them in. They might not even need those wins with the rest of the division looking like it does. Now, you don't want to go and play home in the first round, of course, but hey, you want to get in the playoffs no matter what it takes. So, Boardman might be a team that is sitting pretty in the playoffs, but of course they have Dover this week. Then they play Canfield. Then they play Fitch, then Canfield, I think, for the rest of their schedule. Yeah, Fitch, then Canfield. So they play Dover at home, then at Fitch, and then at Canfield to close out their season.
Dover's on a 3-week losing streak too, and they've lost in overtime 2 weeks ago and triple overtime last
this game. Like they're going to be a mad tornado.
I mean,
they are the Crimson Tornadoes, by the way. I think Richie confirmed that earlier when Canfield played them. So they are the Crimson Tornadoes. They're going to be a mad Crimson Tornado.
I thought so. They definitely are, but Boardman's got to be mad too. These are 2 teams that are going to be fighting, and I mean, honestly, you look at where Dover is at too. After the last few losses, they're in the playoffs. They're number 10, but they're playing to try to get themselves a home playoff game. Right. For Dover, that's a tough one too because they play in Region 7. That's where Massillon, Washington's at the top. Uniontown Lake's number 3. That's a tough conference too. You don't want to be on the road in that one. Tough division, I should say.
Home finale for Boardman tonight. Not tonight, this week.
We keep saying that too. I think it's Friday because that's when that's another day we always.
Well, because we're talking about these matchups instead of the ones that. So I'm thinking like, oh, it's tonight. I'm in my wish it was Friday all of a sudden.
Yeah.
But no, 24-21. Boardman gets the loss, unfortunately for them.
Yep. That's a good win though for Harding. It was one they needed. We all good, Ant?
Didn't want to die on air, so I had to mute myself real quick and get some mucus out of my. All right, so let's go into the next one, and then we'll take our first break of the day. Brookfield is a team. Brookfield's sitting here like, all we're doing is winning, right? Like, we're just taking care of business. We don't care who's around us. We don't care what people think about us. Even though they've been drastically overlooked since the first loss of the season to Ursuline. 34-0. They just kind of stampede their way through this MVAC. And kind of like we talked about the EOAC, it's coming down to Brookfield Garfield. Pretty soon. I think week 9 is when that happens. So,
and both of their losses come in out of conference as well. Brookfield's also number 8 right now in the Region 21 for Division 6. They would be matched up with Rootstown if playoffs were to start today. So Brookfield has battled their way back into hosting a playoff spot, or hosting a playoff game, I should say. And they're going to be looking to keep climbing that ladder and try to get themselves nestled into a home playoff seating.
Yeah, no worries needed. They go on the road. They beat Newton Falls 34-0 on the road. Brookfield gets the win Let's go into our commercial breaks, take our first break of the day, pay some bills. When we get back, we'll have more recaps of the weekend action on Running Point, brought to you by Greenwood Chevrolet in Austintown.
21 News delivers the news as it happens, using the latest technology from where it happens.
Live here outside the Mahoney County.
On air, online,
Wednesday afternoon weather update.
Very dangerous.
and on the 21 News social media platforms.
I'm on the road right now.
21 News, the Valley's only locally owned source for trusted news since 1953.
As fine as the eye can see, the finest hardwoods from the finest trees. Made for your home and within your means, Baird Brothers will help fulfill your dreams. Let life and light come shining through in quiet morns. And heavy traffic, too. Find your easy-to-afford fine hardwood floors and doors and more at BairdBrothers.com.
Every customer has a story, and at Greenwood Chevrolet, we are committed to making sure it ends with you in the right vehicle. I get to be part of somebody's adventure, whether it's buying a car for the first time, helping them get approved, or finding the perfect car for their budget. I'm proud that people trust me with their finances. They trust me to take care of them, and they trust me with their story. I'm Tracy, and I'm ready to go the extra mile for you, only at Greenwood Chevrolet.
Before the lights come on, before the workday begins, before a long day is ended, or it's time to have fun. It all starts with the people at Joe Dickey Electric. From replacing a light fixture in your home to building a substation for your business, no job is too big or too small. The people of Joe Dickey Electric power them all. Joe Dickey Electric, over 60 years of powering the Mahoning Valley.
Why choose local? Because you live here, work here, learn here, relax here, and celebrate here. 21 WFMJ is our Valley's only locally owned TV station, and our focus is local. Other TV stations don't have that same focus, as their owners are somewhere else. But 21 WFMJ is rooted in the Valley. Local people making decisions that affect your life, right here where you live.
You're looking to your future, preparing for your goals, and they're closer than you think. Because here, success is part of the plan. It's a place where academic and social opportunities are meant to prepare you for life, not just the next 4 years. You'll be equipped to face new challenges and turn hard work into a career. You're ready for your success to take root. And here's where it starts. We are Youngstown State University, and proud.
Hi, this is Tommy Clem, owner of WRS Insurance Solutions.
WRS Insurance Solutions is a local independent agency that specializes in life, Medicare, long-term care, and disability products. Call us at 330-953-3722 or visit us at wrsinsurancesolutions.com to learn more.
Good luck to all the student athletes in the Valley.
Welcome back to Running Point on ysnlive.com, brought to you by our good friends over at Greenwood Chevrolet in Austintown. Anthony Hartwig alongside Ty Bartell as we continue our recap of the weekend's football action. A lot to get through, Ty, and we just went over Brookfield's 34-0 win over Newton Falls. Next on the slate is Cardinal Mooney, who is quietly putting together a very good winning streak. 38-7, they get the win over Brush. They are now 4-3 on the season after starting the year 1-3, and they're on some kind of roll.
Always got to watch out for those Cardinals, man. And I mean, I don't think I do think I should say, correct myself. I think people are now and teams now in Division 5 are starting to look at Mooney, who is steadily climbing, and now they've nestled themselves into the 11th spot in the computer rankings, and it's like they're really gonna get themselves into a spot to where they're gonna guarantee themselves a playoff spot and clinch a playoff spot here before long, and that's a scary thought for a lot of teams. A Mooney team in the playoffs is always dangerous.
Ted, do you remember before the season started when you said that a program like Cardinal Mooney could turn around really, really, really quick and out of nowhere, and they've done it before? And after that 1-3 start, I think people took that take and were like, "Really? I mean, it's not that easy." But all of a sudden, here comes Mooney, and they're like, "We're good. We're good at football again." And Ashton O'Brien's putting together a great year. He's got a lot of experience now as
he's a strong quarterback.
So Mooney, they're right there. They're in the thick of things. They're 11th right now in the playoff hunt. They get the big win. They got the 500th win last week. Now they get another one. 501 now in the Mooney playoff hunt. 38-7.
The one thing we're sleeping on in a 4-3 record, and in those 3 losses, a 3-point loss to Boardman, 5-point loss to Cheney, and then they lost by 14 to Lindsley, West Virginia, right? But the most points they allowed was to Lindsley, West Virginia, at 28. Mooney hasn't allowed over 30 points on defense this year. 28 is the high mark. They allowed 22 to a great Cheney offense and a 22-17 win for Cheney. And they allowed 10 to Boardman, too, which we've seen has scored a plethora of points against some really good teams, too. 7 points allowed in the last 3 weeks, albeit, it was Youngstown East, Lutheran East, and now Brush, but still an impressive defensive stand that we've seen from this Mooney team since the beginning of the season. Now 4-3. They got some great games up too. I mean, Warren Harding this week is definitely going to be a big one. I said,
do you think this is where Mooney proves themselves to the local fans? Because you're beating these teams that people don't really know a lot about, like Lutheran East. Okay, who the heck's that? Brush, no one in the area knows much about Brush. Now, okay, you beat Warren Harding. Okay, we all know Warren. Okay, we know Warren Harding. They just beat Warren. Like, do you think this is the week where Mooney can really start to, quote unquote, not that they care if they prove themselves or not, but prove themselves to maybe the local fans, local football fans?
I think if they win this week or any of the next 3 weeks, that Mooney will be able to do that, because they got Harding, Steubenville, Ursuline. Bang, bang, bang. And I think everyone knows those program names too. And I think a win would garner respect. And I think one win is really all Mooney needs.
Right,
I think they lock themselves into that Division 5.
But now they're getting close enough that their sights aren't set on just getting to the playoffs. They want to host.
They definitely could too. And this is dangerous too for a lot of these teams. And if Mooney doesn't host and you got to host Mooney, that's one of the toughest hosts that you're gonna have to ask for a team. One of the toughest.
I was trying to think. I just popped in my mind if they're staggering playoffs again this year for Friday and Saturday, because I don't know if they went back to just all games on Friday, but I just popped in my mind like Middle Ridge. They're in a position where they could host if they do enough. I know they're sitting in like that spot where they could be a host team. Yeah, obviously Mooney plays their home games at Middle Ridge, and if all games are played on Friday, you wonder what will happen. But last year they staggered them.
I think they're going to stagger them. I think that's the idea, is to stagger them and have it both nights.
Because Ridge is 7, right? Division 7? 6?
6, I believe. 6, yeah.
6?
Yeah, they're 6.
I can't.
They're ranked. They're number 7.
7. They're 7?
No, they're Division 6, but they're 7 in Region 21. Yeah.
So they'd be hosting right now. And last year it was 1, 2, and it was 1, 2, 3, 4 on Friday, 5, 6, 7 on.
I think it was something like that. Yeah, they did.
Even if it's like that, they're gonna have to be like, hey, one of these teams is gonna have to play on Friday, one of these teams is gonna have to play on Saturday if they both earn the right to host.
And I think they'd be able to work it out. I'm sure that there's something written up in the contract. I'm sure that they've had discussions about it. Like, hey, if we both end up hosting playoff spots this year, like, I'm sure there's something in place in that.
I didn't think of it because both these teams missed the playoffs last year. So there's, or at least Mooney did. I don't know if I think Ridge made the playoffs.
I'd like to think they were going in with high hope. Like, you got to go.
Like, do we really?
We're making the playoffs this year, man.
But did they think they were both going to host spots in the playoffs? Who knows?
Never know. Man. You got to have confidence, right? confidence in what you're going.
38-7. Mooney gets the win over Brush, and they are 4-3 now on the season. We'll move on. This is one of the games that the end result, once again, didn't surprise people. Crestview still got the win, but man, did LeBray put up a heck of a fight. Crestview wins 22-7. It was 8-7 at a halftime tie.
Yeah, it was a crazy fight put on by LeBray, and they're looking better every single week. Crestview, though, gets the win that they needed to keep themselves at least alive and have at least a path to get themselves into a playoff positioning, sitting at 22 right now. They're going to need some wins in the next few weeks, but this was one that they needed at least going into the next three.
Yeah, they didn't quite wash that taste of the loss last week out of their mouths, I think, with this performance. I think they probably feel like they didn't play their best still. Crestview might be a little bit teetering right now, but at least this time around they got the win. So it's a lot easier to learn from a win than a loss. So Crestview, they go into this week. It's Garfield this week, right? Garfield in week 8. So big test ahead for the Rebels.
Yeah, very, very big test for the Rebels, and this is one that, again, you feel like they might need.
It's a must win. It's a must. Because if I remember, they've already played Brookfield, so this is really like the biggest computer point game on their schedule left. So if they have any hopes of getting out of that 22 spot and into the top 16, they need to win this game and then win out, of course.
Yeah, Newton Falls and Champion, the other two opponents on the schedule.
So Crestview, once again, they go into that game with momentum. They win 22-7, and congratulations to the Rebels. This one was wild, Ty. Poland beats Girard 21-19. I think a lot of people came in expecting Girard to just have a bounce back game. Poland wasn't having it at all, and they find a way to win late.
Yeah, I mean, this was a huge win for Poland all the way around. Defense held Girard to just 19 points, and I mean, offense went to bed for the Indians on that night as Poland, I mean, did what Poland has done before, though, and I mean, they remind everyone that this is still a good football program. Coach Pavlansky over there, I mean, does a great job, I should say, over there with that program, getting those kids to buy in, and those kids give it their all every single Friday night, and that's exactly why they're one of the tough teams to beat, man. They're tough on defense, and you can't win if you can't score.
In the fourth quarter, Girard was up 17-7. Poland would need an explosive play. They got one. Cole Fulton took a little screen pass and ran it down the sideline for a 75-yard touchdown. They were right back in the game, and then the Bulldogs recovered an onside kick. Danny Natoli ran it in, another touchdown to go up 21-17. Girard would actually add a safety. Poland got a stop. They were backed out of their own goal line. They elected to kind of surrender the safety instead of try to punt out of their own end zone, which is a very smart decision, especially in high school football. So many things can go wrong with a punt. Coach Pavlansky just said, you know what? Let's not even risk it. Let's just take the safety, give it back to Girard on a long field. It was kind of risky though, because of course then Girard only needed a field goal to win the game. But their defense locked down, and Girard could not get that last drive to win the game. So Poland wins 21-19 after being down 17-7 in the fourth quarter.
Yep, lock it up on defense. Poland gets a big win in the NE8.
Danny and Natoli, big game for the Bulldogs, 2 touchdowns on his slate. And then, they're on their, I think, 4th team quarterback. So, he keeps finding ways to win. He had that screen pass to Fulton. Poland never say die. They heard the noise. They heard the doubters. They heard the people that said they had no chance to beat Girard because Girard was going to come in angry. And they just said, hey, we're gonna hang tough. Their defense played pretty well. Michael Palmer, got his numbers, but no one else really could help him. And they win 21-19.
Nice win, Bulldogs.
First, let's see. They won on the road against Louisville. I think it's their first home win. Could be wrong.
I could check real quick.
3-4, right on the season. So I think it's their first home win.
Poland right now is ranked number 6 in Region 13. They're 4-3, and they're 4 wins. Damn it. Click the wrong thing. The Louisville was away. They beat Hubbard at home.
Hubbard. So that always gets me because they both have
home and they beat Girard at home. They have 3
I
home.
didn't know they had Niles at home. I thought they had Niles on the road. But I knew the Hubbard one was the one that was in question for me because they both have, like in my mind, I'm trying to picture the blue end zones, but Hubbard has the exact same blue end zone white lettering.
Yeah.
That Poland does. So in my mind, I was like, did they play Hubbard at home? But I completely missed the Niles one anyway. So even if I was right about Hubbard on the road, they played Niles at home.
No, they played Hubbard at home too.
Yeah, humble pie, Anthony, eat it. Good. All right, let's move on. Quick. Lisbon gets the win, 57-26 over Wellsville. This was a game that was close, 36-26. Wellsville cut it within 10, and then Lisbon had a big explosion in the fourth quarter to win 57-26. Austin Daly had a big day on the ground for Lisbon. Trevor Sifke did a good job as well as quarterback, and Lisbon rolls.
Battle of two teams in the middle of the pack of the EOAC, and Lisbon reigns supreme. And a big win for the Blue Devils as it actually gets them a little bit in, I think, higher from last week in their positioning at number 11 as they look to get themselves into the top 8. They still have an opportunity to do so.
By the way, if you missed it, Lisbon is the benefactor of this week's NST Play of the Game. Mr. Daly, 101-yard interception return for a touchdown.
I mean, you love to see it. You love to see it. That's incredible.
So go check that out on any of our social media pages, and don't miss that. We move on. Middle Ridge keeps on keeping on, 42-7. A lot of people expected this game to be close, but Ridge put a stomping on Jackson Moulton.
I think Ridge just answered everyone's questions about, okay, like, we are that team that can contend with Louisville.
I am him.
We are that team. And Coach Shaner, you got to hand it to him because this was a game where a lot of people were thinking, like you said, was going to be close because both teams 5-1 going into the week, but 42-7. Mineral Ridge just took this bull by the horns and they just never let go. They just from first quarter to fourth, they said, "This is our game. Thank you very much."
And in this game, what they did really well was they kind of proved there's a gap between the top and the three. Louisville stomped Jackson Moulton, so I think Middle Ridge wanted to prove that they were in that class. They weren't going to struggle against Jackson Moulton while Louisville put them away. They said we're in that upper tier. Jackson Moulton's still a really good team, 5-2, but they're going to have to stay in that lower tier of the MVAC because it's us and Louisville, and there's still a matchup between Middle Ridge and the Rockets on the horizon.
And you know what? I think this matchup just got a lot more intriguing. And I think Tristan Valley has been underrated, flying under the radar the whole year he's been a solid quarterback for this Rams team, and he's contributed mightily in a lot of big wins, multiple weeks where the Rams have scored 40 or more points, 5 actually on the season. Lowest scoring week was against Springfield, but even in that one loss on the season, Mineral Ridge only lost by 8, and I think this was a huge win not only for confidence-wise for Mineral Ridge going into the next few weeks, but I think for a lot of people just opening their eyes to the Rams now, saying, all right, that's a big win. Like that's a win. I think that's going to start building confidence in people around the area too in the Rams.
Yeah, when you look at it, Ridge got big games, like you said, from Tristan Valley. It was 14-7 after Alex Xavi hit Ashton Green for a 77-yard touchdown that cut Ridge's lead to 7. So after that, you're thinking, okay, Jackson Moulton's ready for a fight. Like, here we go, back and forth. So after that point, Middle Ridge allowed nothing, 0. And they won, like I said, 42-7. Big turnaround, because that can be a swinging momentum type play, and Ridge did not let that happen.
I mean, honestly, too, you look overall, 68 points defensively allowed this season. Yep. Through 7 weeks, that's less than 10 points a week. That's great defensive numbers throughout for Mineral Ridge.
And you said Tristan Valley was under the radar. How about Mr. Ian Erb under the radar? He had 3 touchdowns for the Rams. He's under the radar just as much as Tristan Valley is. Jackson Milton, they moved to 5-2. They will travel to Waterloo next week, and Middle Ridge now 6-1, and they will travel to Sebring. So both teams back in action on the road next week.
Should be interesting to see.
We go to Warren JFK, and they lost last week, but they move right back in the win column, 33-0. They are able to beat Rootstown pretty handily.
Yeah, JFK is really not even going to be phased. It looks like in that top spot in their region. They still have a 5-point lead, just under a 5-point lead from number 2 Daneville. Lowville's in third, but still a 6-point advantage on Lowville. So I think JFK is really in that position too, where they could afford to even drop one more game on this season too. And I think they could still come away number 1 seed in that.
This was the smallest team on their schedule, and it was Rootstown Division 6.
And it's still
they're pretty high. They were pretty high ranked in Division 6, if I'm not mistaken. So 33-0. That's a statement win for everyone that's looking in Division 7. Like, no, when we play these kind of teams that are in our like size path, we're dominating them.
That's what you need to do, and that's what JFK does.
Man. Intimidation. So JFK, yeah, like I said, they're on the roll, 33-0 over Rootstown, a Rootstown team that we've seen a couple of times on YSN look pretty impressive.
Solid team. It's the Rovers team, not too far from me out here in Portage County. They're a solid team, and they have solid athletics.
Southern gets the win, 48-6 over Latonia. So they set up that matchup with Valley Christian next week with a win their own. They both had to take care of business this week, of course, and both Valley and Southern just kind of take care of business and move on to the next. And this is what we all signed up for when we get the media jobs. Big matchups like this.
Excited, man. You got to start counting down the days to Friday night, right?
Let's see. We're at Monday, so we have 1, 2. If you count Monday, 2. If you count Friday, 2, 5 days.
You gotta get through a few more days.
What time do you stop counting the day? Like it's almost 1 o'clock. Do you still count Monday?
Or go down to 7 o'clock, right? Because 7 o'clock is gonna be the start time on Friday.
So Monday counts until 7 o'clock tonight.
Yeah.
And Friday.
I think that's fair. I think it's fair that you're
5 days.
Yeah. You're waiting. This is a big matchup, though. One of the exciting premier matchups, I would say, going into this week.
First place on the line in the Wigwam. That's gonna be fun to say all week.
Yeah, but Southern gets the big win against Latonia and did what they're supposed to do, took care of business.
Springfield, they are on a win streak after losing their first conference game of the year to Lowville. They've rattled off 3 in a row. They win 41-14 over Waterloo. This is a game that we both thought would be a little bit competitive, but Springfield had other options.
They certainly did, and Springfield's trying to get themselves nestled into a solid playoff positioning as they continue to keep climbing that ladder. As right now, let me double check and see where they're at. They're at number 9, so just 1 under, 1 out of hosting. So Springfield has gotten themselves all the way up to 9, and it would be an 8-9 matchup between Toronto and Springfield, which would be, I think, a solid matchup, but I think it actually would favor Springfield.
Yeah, no, because Toronto has been factoring from the start they had, but they've been wavering.
Last few weeks, for sure, they've been wavering.
I think they're dealing with some injuries over there in Toronto.
They also had to play 2 7-0 teams back-to-back weeks too. So in Edison, and then this last week they played a 7-0 team as well. So some good teams on the schedule as well, with some injuries at the worst timings.
Right, worst timing imaginable. So I don't think that'll actually be the end of the.
I don't think that'll
be the end of the matchup. But if it was, I would Springfield would be heavy favorites right now.
Springfield has a great chance to still get themselves into the top 8. And
not that, they have a losing record right now. They're 9.
Yeah,
that tells you how strong Springfield's schedule is.
Yeah, look at the wins they have, and that's what tells you. But they definitely still have plenty of opportunities to make up ground. That a full point still separates. A full point separates them from the next team up, which was Matthews at 7. But still, we've seen points, a point lead shrink in a week.
And in front of them is a struggling Toronto team right now that is kind of on the backslide. So they have a real good chance getting that 8 spot.
at the very least, you want to host that first playoff game. You want to host at least week 1.
You know, I don't care what they've looked like this year. Springfield gets in the playoffs are dangerous. I'm just going to say that.
100%, because I mean, if they win against one of the bottom 16 teams, if they're top 8, which you would likely expect them to do, I mean, Springfield JFK. We talked about that matchup before.
Don't forget that Springfield's not D6 anymore.
Yeah, we talked about when Springfield went to D7. Like, this would be an intriguing matchup. You might see that in week 2. In week 2 of the playoffs, it might happen.
That would be fun. It would be a Springfield team that learned a lot about themselves from when we saw them struggle against really good teams in the first 3 weeks of the season. They're starting to pick up momentum. They're starting to learn more and more about their identity. Colton Rourke is starting to get really confident under center.
That's like drawing a Cardinal Mooney team. It's a tough draw if you're
it's at the end of the day, it's a team that knows how to win in the playoffs, right? And I don't think you can ever discount the playoff experience that Springfield has had, whether the players have been on the field or not. Cheney goes to Painesville Harvey. They get the 33-14 win over the Red Raiders. A couple of special teams and defensive touchdowns again help Cheney out. Jason Hewlett finds ways to the end zone, even if it's not on offense.
Yeah, and you look at what Cheney's been able to do. That was a huge win, and I think that we talked about it Friday after the loss to Ursuline, first loss of the season. How will Cheney bounce back? Because now they've experienced a loss. They have that taste in their mouth. We've seen Cheney teams, not take losses well in years past.
That's true.
But not this time around. That was a solid Painesville Harvey team, like you said, and 4-2 going into that one. And it's the same division, same region as Cheney too. So getting themselves experience with a team that you might have to run into again. Actually knocked Harvey out of the playoffs temporarily, down to 17 after that win. But yeah, big win for Cheney. And again, defensively, they did it big on defense, holding another team under 20.
They were trailing at halftime. The Cowboys had a huge fourth quarter. They got a touchdown from Javon Freeman, and then they followed it up with a pick six from Hewlett. So like I said, he keeps finding ways to get in the end zone, even if they're not on offense.
The defense
that's going to be like his third pick six of the season.
That's the toughest thing about Cheney, is that they don't always need to be premier superstars on offense, because they're such a three-headed dragon of a team where they can beat you with special teams, defense, and offense. They can score on all three. They can get you for 6 on all three, and that's why they're so dangerous.
Then you add that to the fact that Matt Jones, their sophomore quarterback, had his hands in a pair of second half touchdowns as well. He ran one in from 20. He passed one in from 19. So, a big second half explosion, especially in the fourth quarter, pulls the Cowboys away from a game that probably could have swung the other way. Could have been competitive. I know a lot better than Harvey is a lot better than the 33-14 win would indicate. And Cheney will hit the road on Friday in week 8 as they travel to Howland.
Yeah, those darn Hilltoppers have taken top spot in Region 9, but it's nice to see Canfield, Cheney, Ursuline follow.
Chardon didn't play this week either, so they took the top spot with an idle week.
They were on the beach chair just lounging back and just slid into the top spot.
You would have let you guys slide out. Oh, what? We're first? Oh, cool. Hey, hand me another drink, Billy.
Yeah. And sometimes those rest weeks or bye weeks, a lot of coaches don't like them. Sometimes they could be beneficial. Sometimes they could work against you. We'll see how the Hilltoppers respond.
And Canfield has to respond too.
Exactly.
They're also off in week 7. You move on to the next score. Wyndham took one on the chin, unfortunately, 60-12. They lose to Pie Valley.
Yeah, Pie Valley just made no mistakes about this one. Offensive explosion throughout.
And we know a lot about Pie Valley. Not the first time we saw them. This was a game that they had control over after one quarter. Was 30-6 after a quarter of play. We know Wyndham has had their ups and downs. Their offense has looked really good at times. But when Pie Valley took that offense away, They couldn't get into the shootout. Their defense has been one of the ones that has been, a struggle point for Wyndham. They've been able to win games by outscoring teams.
It's
not the case this time around.
It's tough to win football games when you don't have a ton of depth either, too.
Right,
and that's the one thing that Wyndham's kind of battling with all season.
Games against teams like Pie Valley, they're not like a big team roster-wise, but they're big. Like, they're a big football team. They have a big line. They're physical. When you don't have a lot of depth and you have to go up against that, that's just hard. This is really hard.
Definitely.
Wyndham is just lucky that they got out of there healthy, because they've had a couple of injury situations this year that have forced them to miss a game. So, when you're playing a really physical team like that, you just want to get out of the game healthy at that point.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely.
All right. It is, I think, time for our second break of the day. As we approach the hour 2 of Running Point, let's take another break. We'll be back to wrap up the football previews next on RP, brought to you by Greenwood Chevrolet in Austintown.
Locally owned and operated, Sheely's relaxed shopping experience means browsing and lounging is always encouraged.
Find Flex Deal and more at Sheely's Furniture and Appliance, because the best things in life happen at home.
How lucky are we to have not one, but 2 18-hole Donald Ross Championship golf courses right here in our backyards. Mill Creek Golf Course was selected by Golf Week as one of America's 30 best municipal courses, continuing to challenge golfers of all levels and featuring golf instruction by PGA professionals, a state-of-the-art practice range, a PGA of America recognized pro shop, kids programs, and a relaxing grill room for a memorable golf experience. For more information or to schedule a tee time, visit millcreekmetroparks.org.
Fall is in the air. The kids are back to school, crowds are cheering for the home team, and Myers Family Insurance is prepped for another crazy Medicare season. Every year there's changes, some big, some small, so it's important to have a conversation to make sure your plan is going to meet your expectations for the coming year. Give our team a call today to schedule your annual review.
For all your Medicare needs, call Myers Family Insurance or visit us on the web. Check us out online at myersfamilyins.com.
Going from mindful to mindful sometimes requires a helping, healing hand. Insight Clinical Counseling and Wellness offers a continuum of mental health and wellness care. At Insight, we're changing the way you receive counseling and wellness services with experienced licensed clinicians and expertly trained wellness staff. With 4 locations in Mahoning and Columbiana County, along with telehealth services, Insight offers clients quick access to care when they need it. Transform your mental health and wellness at Insight Clinical Counseling and Wellness.
Hi, this is Zell Bush.
Hi, this is Tom Klim. Hi, this is Steve Rossetto.
Hi, this is Ryan Miller.
Hi, this is Rich Sakui from WRS Wealth Advisors.
With our combined 80 years of experience,
WRS Wealth Advisors are the area's premier wealth and retirement specialists. Call 330-965-0370 to learn more about our individual and corporate financial planning services.
or visit wrswealth.com.
Go Raiders.
Go Dogs.
Go Cats. Go Dogs. Go Tigers.
Jimmy Sutton here, Director of Isle, Purple Cat, and Golden String. We are happy to support YSN and 2 of my favorite people, Scotty Mincher and Super Dave O'Malley. We are an agency that provides services for adults with disabilities. We infuse humor, passion, and joy into their lives. If you know of any folks with disabilities that need our assistance, please contact us.
Reliability, innovation, scale. These 3 values are those we look forward to in our business and in our team. If you're ready for a reliable employer who looks constantly to think outside the box in big ways, we're ready for you. Apply now. Help us push the envelope and deliver success. Envelope 1. Take that one extra step.
Winter, spring,
summer, and fall, Mill Creek Metro Parks is your park for all seasons. Make a memory in the park. Plan your visit today at millcreekmetroparks.org.
Welcome back to Running Point on ysnlive.com, brought to you by Greenwood Chevrolet in Austin Town. Anthony Hartwig alongside Ty Bartell as we continue to recap the weekend's action. Come on. There we go. As we continue to recap the weekend's action, my Face ID wouldn't work. My face changed over the commercial break, I guess. 22-0. Let's go right into the next score. Hubbard beats Lakeview. Defensive battle like we thought it would be, but Hubbard just found a couple of ways to score, and Lakeview just their offense couldn't find any kind of rhythm.
Yeah, and Hubbard does what they need to do to get another win on the season, and now they've gotten themselves 5 on the year, 12 in the Region 13 for Division 4. So Hubbard at least in a playoff spot right now, continuing to fight.
I love this Hubbard team because I think coming into the season, everyone was down on him. And you lost TC Caffey. He was like 85% of your offense. You're not going to do anything this year. And here they are. Just the 1-8 loss in the year. They're on the path to have a battle for first place in the last game of the season with South Range, if they keep winning. And are they doing it super flashy? No. They're just finding ways to win. And we keep saying this about the Eagles. Their defense is excellent. They have one of the best defenses statistically in the family. But then their offense, they're just kind of making plays when they have to make plays. They don't hang their hat on one bad drive or not being able to move on one drive. They're just saying, hey, we're going to find, a couple ways to score here and there, and that's going to be enough with our defensive effort. I like this team.
Honestly, you see what Hubbard has too. With the way their defense is played and a struggling Girard team on offense, it could be a perfect storm for the Eagles right now.
Unfortunately, Nick Bengala is out for the season with a broken collarbone. So that's going to be, perfect scenario for Hubbard is their defense is going to come into an offense that is trying to find a way to bounce back from that. You lose a guy like that, you're going to be reeling for a couple of weeks. It might be perfect timing. Unfortunately, you never want to kind of have that kind of timing because you never root for injury, of course. But for the Eagles, it's one of those, you're catching Girard at the right time.
Absolutely. And I mean, Girard's still top spot in Region 13.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
They're still number 1.
Still number 1. Girard holds less than a half of a point advantage on West Branch.
So you gotta look, and now I'm really. What was it? The Ellett win that got them all so many points? I think it was Ellett, right? That the Ellett's like D1,
D2. Yeah. That Ellett win was pretty big for them. And then, because everything else, Streetsboro was Division 4, Liberty was D5, Jefferson was D4, Lakeview was D5.
So man, like somehow Girard 2 losses in a row, they're still number 1.
Yeah, and Girard still. I mean, that if there's anything that you can rally the troops with, you could fight with that. I mean, we're still holding top spot. We have something to defend here.
Right, and if they went out, I don't think anyone's jumping them. Wow. That's amazing. I didn't know that. I am completely shocked that they lost against South Range and they still are number 1, and then they dropped 1 to Poland. Still number 1.
Yeah. Still number 1 in the rankings, computer rankings.
It helped their cause that number 2 lost in Jefferson. If Jefferson wins that game, they might take the 2-1 spot. I don't know. But Jefferson lost against Struthers, so that helped the Indians' cause. But still number 1 after 2 losses in a row. That's it's insane.
Yeah, and I mean they were able to hold on to it. West Branch jumped, and Beaver Locals actually 4.
So West Branch is 2 now.
West Branch is 2. Beaver Locals 4.
Who's 3?
Northwest, Canal Fulton Northwest.
Okay.
And all of them are separated by less than a point. Girard had 11.95, 11.62 for West Branch, 11.24 for Beaver Local. Yeah, they're
look at this. Girard has Hubbard, but West Branch has Alliance. So I mean, if if Girard loses to Hubbard, but West Branch also drops that game to Alliance, they could still sit at number 1.
It definitely could.
Can you imagine 5-3 and you're sitting at number 1?
Yeah, it's huge. And you want to talk about jumps too. I mean, you talked about that win for Struthers. That Struthers win was huge because it actually got Struthers into the playoffs now. We were talking about them on the outside looking in. They're at number 14 now. The Wildcats have gotten themselves into a playoff picture scenario.
Good for them. After the start of the season they had, the heartbreaking losses they suffered. That's a good Wildcats team that's really starting to put it together.
They've showed it every week too. I mean, most of their, with the exception of Geneva, been competitive in every other week too. And I mean, you can't fault the Wildcats for that. And they got a semi-favorable schedule: Niles, Girard, Poland. So I mean, definitely all winnable games, I think, for the Wildcats. Looking at the way they've played this season.
We go into the next score, which is the 4-4 goal game. As Cardinal, this is expected. They went 34-13 over Grand Valley. We saw Grand Valley before. They didn't really do much of anything under the lights, and Cardinals are a really good team. So 34-13, they take care of business.
And I mean, that's what you expect from these teams too. You expect teams like Middlefield Cardinal to, like you said, take care of business. And Cardinals' losses come against teams like we see Garfield on the season too, a Coventry team, a Hawken team, all really good teams. But yeah, that win against Grand Valley now sets them at 3-4 on the season. And for Cardinal, they're right now, you see them, they're number 12 in Division 6, Region 21. So we get familiarized with them too in the YSN coverage map.
That's the team that dropped the division. They were Division 5 last year.
I believe so,
they're
yeah,
down in Division 6. Louisville, exciting second win of the year, 27-23. They grab it over Green.
That's a huge win too for Louisville, because Green was 3-3 on the season. They had some solid wins on the year as well. But more importantly, that win now gets Louisville into a playoff picture in Division 3, Region 9, because they're at 18. So they got themselves into a position now to where they can get themselves into the playoffs. There's a little bit of a gap between them and 16 Akron East, which the point differential is about 1.5 points. But like we've said, we've seen that close. But the biggest thing is for Louisville, they're just going to need some wins in the worst way.
They're going to get computer points if they win.
And
they still play a rough schedule.
It is favorable. They got Glen Oak this week. I know Glen Oak 2-5
points for D1 though.
Yeah, they'll get points for D1, and then you got Notre Dame Cathedral Latin. But NDCL right now is only 2-5 right now. I know they play a tough schedule, but they're having their struggles this season.
Man, that would be so good for that Louisville program that is trying to find a way back to their glory. Louisville is always known for having a very good football program. We've seen them struggle the last couple of years. They're trying to kind of get back to their standard of excellence in that program. And they get a big win over a Green team that I think came into this game probably heavily favored.
Probably, and maybe perhaps sleeping on the Leopards a little bit. And they got Green, and they bit the Bulldogs. And
in our group chat, Jamie Thompson said, "Serves them right for the unoriginal logo and color scheme." I like that. So Green, they fall to Louisville 27-23.
This was the same team, same Green team that beat Maslin Jackson earlier this season, 29-28.
Then they went and lost to Glen Oak, right?
Yeah, they lost to Glen Oak and Canton McKinley back-to-back weeks.
Were two teams that we saw look not good. And
got absolutely destroyed by Canton McKinley, 51-19 too.
Go figure that out. Good luck.
That's federal league football for you. Try to figure that out.
And if you do figure it out, let me know, and then let the coaches of the federal league know, because they need to know too.
For sure.
Next game is Mohawk. They win 32-13. Big win for them. I know they've had their couple of cancellations throughout the season, so they get 32-13 win on the week as well. We talked about a little bit the Struthers game as they got the win over Jefferson. A big win for the Wildcats. A game that probably wasn't as competitive as we thought it would be. When you look at the final score, I'm getting it right now. Hold on. I think it was 42-14. There we go. 42-14. Yeah, never doubt myself. 42-14 over Jefferson, a big win for the Wildcats. Control of the game from the kickoff, right? So they had a 28-7 lead going into halftime. Anthony Carter for Struthers, third quarter, 3-yard touchdown score to put them up 35-7. This is where the game, if Jefferson ever had a chance, it was after that Carter score. Jefferson answered quickly. He made it 35-14. But then Anthony Carter said, I'll take your big play, and I'll one-up you with a 53-yard touchdown run to make it 42-14. And that would end up being the final. They go to host Niles next week. Jefferson will have a big test, trying to take off the losses they welcome in South Range in week 8. But the Struthers team, this is the first win where they've not had to go into overtime. They've not had to kind of fight and claw and nail their way to a victory. They kind of just smacked down and put the pedal to the metal and said, let's go.
Absolutely. And I mean, they looked really good this week, and they got a favorable matchup again right now with a little bit of a struggling Niles team. And really for Struthers, like we said, sitting at 14 in Region 13, it really gives them an opportunity to get themselves nestled into a spot and perhaps get themselves to the playoffs.
I think so. And that would be that, like I said, that would be really good for this program. I mean, we show favoritism, but we're not trying to say we're rooting for Struthers more than another YSN team or what. But with the way that Struthers season started, it would be really nice to see them make the playoffs.
They have 50-50 games, in my opinion, with Girard and Poland too to end the season.
Especially where Girard is now. You wouldn't say that.
Not necessarily a few weeks ago, but I think 50-50 games the last 2 weeks, and I think you're favored this week. So definitely an opportunity for Struthers to get into the playoffs.
And like I said, with the way their season has gone to this point before that win over Jefferson, I mean, balls just were not bouncing their way at all. So it's nice to see Struthers be able to bounce back from that. We know Coach Bayek pretty well. He's come on the show a couple of times. Good friend. So he's rallied those troops. And he's got them believing.
If there's two teams that deserve to make the playoffs after some of the starts they've had, Western Reserve and Struthers.
Well, Western Reserve, man, they've gone through the
Reserve and Struthers have gone through enough heartbreaks that if they can make the playoffs, it's you feel good for them. It's a feel-good story for those teams if they're able to bounce back and still make the playoffs.
Western Reserve, by the way, got that win over McDonald 27-19. It was a big defensive stop at the end where McDonald had the ball. They could have tied up the game. Western Reserve's defense held down the fort and stopped them.
The thing for Reserve right now, too, that win got them to 17. Yeah, they got some tough games on their slate, but they're still fighting. They still have a heartbeat for that playoffs. And for Reserve, they got Springfield, Sebring, Lowville. So you expect one win. There's one game where you're favored, but two tough matchups in Springfield and Lowville for sure for the Blue Devils.
Yeah, those are tough. And you're not going to get any help in the computer points from Sebring.
Not a ton. They're just the same region as you, same division as you, too. But that does help that a lot of the losses that Reserve has were against Division 6 teams. They played a lot of up because they went down to D7. That win against Liberty being D5's helping them, and Liberty winning back-to-back weeks is helping Reserve now.
They need to root for Liberty like crazy.
Yeah, I mean,
that Liberty game. Let's just go into that Liberty game. That was nutso. Crazy.
You want to talk about that is an exact example of a game that anything can happen on a Friday night. And Taylor, you talk about Lawrence Watson in that game and just absolutely put on a show. 4-touchdown performance to rally the troops back. 1 point victory against Champion.
Yeah, and his favorite target was Chris Cunningham, who really high on last year. He was a 1,000-yard receiver. This was his he's been treading water a little bit. They haven't been able to find him open spaces yet this year. But, man, did Chris Cunningham have a big game for the Leopards in this one as Lawrence's favorite receiver. You look at him, and he had, 2 touchdowns. and 5 catches for over 100 yards and 2 scores. So coming up big for the Leopards was Chris Cunningham, who I think last year was one of the best receivers definitely in the area. And, he has a chance to help out his program this year still. Champion led this game, though, 27-13 late with like 7 minutes to go in the fourth. Cunningham was actually the one that turned the momentum over. Huge touchdown reception. Second one of the night, he cut it to 27-20. Fell would be denied of a fourth down conversion. He would get his fourth touchdown. I'm sorry, he would not be denied. 34-20, they were led. So, yeah, they didn't lead. I'm sorry, they led by 13, but it wasn't 27-13. It was 34-20 with 7:35 to go. Then that's when things got nuts because Liberty, Dwayne Moody had a run back for a touchdown on a kickoff return. Their defense got the ball right back, and then Moody was the one that got the touchdown, and then he caught the 2-point conversion that Coach Simon decided to go for. Instead of tying the game up at 34, he said, you know what? What do we have to lose as a team right now in Liberty? Let's just go for the win. I don't want to go into overtime against this champion team that has a really good offense. Let's just win the game here. And, man, did they could show up big as Moody didn't just catch the touchdown. He also caught the 2-point conversion. 35-34, Liberty wins the game. Champion, look at this. They won just about every statistic except the final score. They outgained Liberty 404 to 330. They outran the Leopards 297 to 55. They forced 3 Liberty turnovers, and they held the ball for 11 minutes longer than the Leopards. And they're still walking off the field as the loser.
Coach Simon exemplified striking while the iron is hot to perfection. And you know what? That's the beautiful thing about the sport of football is sometimes you ride that wave of momentum and you got to know when the timing is right. And for Liberty, you go to overtime in that one. Chances are, honestly, with a champion team that has experience with those close games, that overtime scenario, it's tough. It's tough going into it. Liberty said, you know what, let's roll the dice. We've had the momentum. We just got back. We got the big stop. We scored again. Let's ride while the momentum's hot. And, hey, they took it all the way to a win. And that's why you get to be the coaches. Coach Simon talking about the head coaching job. That's why you get to be the head coach for Coach Simon. He makes those decisions and makes the right call on Friday night.
I found Chris Cunningham's final numbers. He went 5 catches, 192 yards, and 2 touchdowns.
Nasty.
So he's a big weapon for Tyson Lawrence Watson, who threw for 272 yards. What is that? 192 of those coming to Chris Cunningham. So way more than half of his passing yards going to Cunningham. He had 3 touchdowns on the day, 2 passing, 1 rushing. And Liberty returns to action. They host Newton Falls, a winnable game for the Leopards. They could be on a 3-game winning streak. Champion stays at home, and they will host Campbell next week. So both teams have a game where you could argue they are the favorites going into Week 8.
Yeah, and good opportunity for both teams to come away with a win.
Where do the Flashes stand in the playoffs right now? Because you're looking at that, they need to bounce back. They need some wins, I'm sure. But I think they're still in the playoff contention.
Let's see where Champion's at. Champion is 15 right now, just above Cortland Lakeview. So
Lakeview's sliding right now. So Champion with a good chance to make the playoffs. Does Liberty have an outside shot if they go on
15? Liberty's less than a point away from Lakeview at 16. And Crestwood is in between them at 17.
This is repeating last year where Liberty goes down the stretch and they have a chance to get into the playoffs. And hopefully for Liberty fans, it goes better than the last 2 games did last year where they were this close to beating 2 really good teams that would have put them in the playoffs.
They
lost both the games late.
They have a chance. They have Garfield last game of the season. That's going to be tough. But LeBray in week 9, Newton Falls 7.
It's exactly the same opponents they ended with last year. They barely lost to LeBray, and last year LeBray was number 1 in Division 6, so this was a big game. And Liberty had them on the ropes, and then last second, lost to LeBray. bounced back, and they had Garfield on the ropes, and they lost in the fourth quarter to Garfield as well. So Liberty's looking at that schedule like revenge is on the mind. Like, let's not end the season like we did last year.
It's almost like after they had that cancellation at Crestview, they started season number 2, and I mean they're 2-0 in the second season right now. After that week off, and they have a chance to have a 4-win stretch right now, being favorited, I would say, in the next 2 weeks. And for Liberty, that'd be a great story for them as well if they can get themselves to a 4-4 position going into Week 10 and having a shot to make it into the playoffs.
Well, they're a team, they're a program that's 500 over the last 12 years. We did that before the season. We did
that would only make sense.
They're heading right their way to, well, they can't end 500 because they missed a game, but they're heading right toward that 5-loss stretch, 4 or 5 losses, right in that midsection that they're always finding a pocket in.
They love it. They love it.
You always expect the Leopards to go about 6-4, 5-5. Or 4-6, one of those 3 records. You can bet the Leopards will go that
right around the middle of the pack.
Yeah. So Liberty trying to push them into the playoffs. You said they're 18 right now. They have a winnable game against Newton Falls. They'll probably be the favorites in that one. And then they have a game against LeBray, who that's going to be a 50-50 game. I'm going to go out and say I know LeBray still kind of struggling, but the way they played against Crestview, I don't think a team like Liberty has the benefit to look over LeBray at all. I think that's going to be a really tough game, probably a really competitive game down there in Week 9 that a lot of people are going to look past because there's a lot of big matchups in Week 9. I know, but Liberty LeBray Week 9 might be a pretty competitive matchup.
Yeah, you don't scoff off the MVAC grades here either because, I mean, Newton Falls is not a pushover team in the slightest, and they pushed Champion for everything that they were worth too. So, I mean, I don't expect an easy win Liberty against Newton Falls.
If you let Newton Falls control the clock, and they have a really good run game, if you let them set the tone, they can really hurt you, and that's a good comparable opponent. Liberty beat Champion by 1, but Newton Falls took Champion to what? 16-13. It was a really it was that was earlier. I don't think it was 16-13. I think that was the Newton Falls score against Jackson Milton.
Yeah, I think it was.
But it was definitely higher scoring against Champion, but it was one where Newton Falls had chances to win down late, and it got really crazy down the stretch. Onside kick they recovered. Champion had to make a stop, and they did. So the higher scoring than 16-13, but also a team that took Jackson Milton to the wire in their own right, 16-13.
Absolutely. And looking at it, this is going to be an interesting game for sure.
So we'll look forward to that in Week 8. Champion will host Campbell. That's definitely a game that they're favored in. As they try to secure a playoff spot as well. They're sitting in 15, so they can't mess around. They have to protect that spot and get as high a seed as possible.
Yeah, not a whole lot of breathing room, seriously, for a Champion. They need to make sure that they get as many wins as they can.
All right, let's take our another break, and when we come back, you know what? Let's actually do the power rankings, and then we'll take a break later on in the show. Let's bring up this week's power rankings. There are some drastic differences as we bring it up, and South Range will stay in the 1 spot. Fitch goes to 2; they stay at 2. Cheney goes from 4 to 3. Lowville goes from 6 to 4. Then JFK makes the jump from 7 to 5 after an impressive win over Rootstown. West Branch jumps Idle Canfield as they go into 6 from the 8 spot. Canfield goes from 6 to 7 after being off for the week. Valley Christian still undefeated. They sit at 8, just like they were last week. Southern Local moves up 1 spot from 10 to 9. And then Edison is a new member of the family of the power rankings, and they have impressed enough people with that 7-0 record. And they've given up a grand total of they had 24. They gave up 14. So that's 38 points this season in 7 games. Just over 5 points a game.
Nice to see Edison finally make the appearance after the 7-0 start. And, I mean, you look at this, there's a battle of 8 and 9 this week coming up, and you might see the loser of this week. The winner might get some spots jump, but the loser might drop off the list entirely.
Here's my – I think Brookfield is going to be in the list next week because I think they're going to take the spot unless something else crazy happens. I think they're going to take the spot of whoever loses the Valley Christian Southern local game.
They very well be. I was going to say, I mean, there's going to be some teams on the outside looking in, but there's definitely, I think, going to be an opening because I can definitely see the way the voters have voted and where these two teams sit right now. A loss for whoever loses that game between Valley and Southern likely is dropping off this list as well.
So we talked about last week, what does Lowville have to do to crack into that top 5? And another top 5 team lost in Ursuline. So Lowville creeps up. They're in the top 4 now, sitting at 4 at 7-0. They're the highest ranked undefeated team. And then they have 3 6-1 teams between them and the next undefeated team down there in Valley Christian. So 7-0 Lowville continues to just, and what impressed me the most, they continue to not just win, but just not even struggle. You can argue about their strength of schedule. They can only play who's in front of them, but they have not shown once that they are playing down to that level. They have just taken care of business and moved on to the next opponent.
And it's what they got to do too. I mean, until they can get to the playoffs and play different opponents, you got to play who's in front of you, and they've knocked down the teams that they've had to face so far.
Their only struggle point to this point is the Springfield, who really did battle them. They pulled away late to make it a 42-24 win, but it was a close game in the fourth quarter that Lowville really had to fight some adversity. So Springfield's the only team that you can even argue got close, and even then ended up being an 18-point win for the Rockets.
Yeah, and it was a close one too, and Springfield showed that they can give them everything that they're worth, and that's a potential matchup you can see in the playoffs again this year. Both those teams in the same region in 25.
So, what do you think about this list and how it compares to how you voted?
Looking at it too, I think it's pretty on par. I'm happy to see Edison finally get in. I've been consistently trying to get the Wildcats. They're pushing for the Wildcats to be in there.
Ted puts them as 1 just to give them the points.
Yeah. No, I'm not that petty to try to get them all the points.
That was just a joke. He did not do that. That was just a joke.
But the Wildcats, it's nice to see that they're getting some recognition too. And it's a team that we haven't, in years past, maybe you don't talk as much about, doesn't get a whole ton of coverage in this area too, and like the Mahoning Valley, right? And in the surrounding areas, but it's one that you hear a lot, and we've been singing their praise a lot here on Running Point for YSN. It's a team that's defensively sound, man, and that's the way they're going. They're beating teams in a big way, but they're doing it by just not letting them score points against them.
I don't know if this is true, but I haven't done the math. But look at how much they've beaten their opponents by every week. They might have the biggest point differential of any team on this list when you look at their total wins, because they've been scoring and holding teams. Like I said, 38 total points through 7 games. That's still less than a touchdown per game given up. So statistically, the best defense in the YSN realm still, and you'll look at it and they're beating teams up. Even this week when they had a 14-14 tie in the locker room, and they came out and they still won 48-14.
This Harrison Central team that just got smacked by Beaver Locals, the only team with a winning record remaining on Edison's schedule. And I mean,
that'll be the caveat. People are going to say, well, who have they played? Yeah. Well, like we say with Lowville, you can only play the teams that are in front of
you. Harrison Central, Buckeye Local, Indian Creek are the last teams on the schedule. That win against Toronto was a big win. The win against Matthews is still holding in.
I think Matthews is their biggest win of the year because Matthews came into that game with a high-flying offense that had scored 100+ in 2 games, the 2 games before that. And Edison just held them to 10 points.
Yeah, and Matthews has been looking really good too. And defensively, you look at what Matthews has done. They allowed 7 in week 1, 8 in week 2, shutout in week 3. In week 5, they allowed 13, 6 in week 6, and 7 in week 7. So 48 points they allowed to Edison in week 4. And I think that's another one of those games where Edison showed that they're a solid football team. But the point I was getting to, though, with these 3 games that I think all winnable for the Wildcats, I love this story of from 0-10 in 2019 to the possibility of being 10-0 and completely
very real possibility of being 10-0.
And I mean, you just feel. I mean, we've had Coach Colopy on too, multiple sport coach over there too, and I mean, has great success with the baseball program, now carrying it over to the football program.
And I think he's also he's hungry because he knows that last year they had a successful season, but then they got smacked in the playoffs. So they want to put together another great season, but then they want to be a little bit more prepared for playoff time too.
I think they're gonna be, and I mean, defensively sound. The biggest thing is you can only play who's in front of you, but these are still solid football teams, and they're just not letting them score on them.
Right.
I mean, through and through, just not allowing them to score, and that's the biggest thing I've seen from Edison is defensively sound. And in Division 5 too, they're ranked in the top 5. They're number 5 right now. And same region.
That'll help them because last year they had to go on the road.
Yeah, absolutely. If you could get a top 8 spot, and there's still probability too that they can get in the top 4. They're not that far away from Norwayne, who's sitting in the top 4. So you have a potential to talk about South Range and Edison being 2 YSN teams featured in the top 4 in that division.
All right, so you have Fitch, who has a matchup this week with Wadsworth. That's a big game. I'm trying to just look at these teams and
that'll be a big game. Cheney's going to be who's Cheney playing this?
They travel to Howland. That's the game that they should be able to win. South Range travels to Jefferson. They'll be favored in that game. It won't be the easiest game on their schedule, but they still should be favored pretty heavily, especially the way Jefferson looked this week. Lowville's, they don't have anything until they play Ridge.
They play McDonald. I will say though, McDonald's looks solid in games too, and they can push you if it depends on which McDonald team we see. We've seen glimpses from this McDonald team where they've been really solid too. So
yeah, they took a 21-0 lead on Springfield.
We thought they were going to blow them out. When I was watching, I was like, oh my goodness, they're going to blow Springfield out.
And Springfield scored 37 unanswered.
It depends on what McDonald team we see, but we've seen glimpses of this being a really good McDonald football team.
This West Branch, I mean, everyone, they've been I think the highly contested team in the power rankings because they got in after they lost to Canfield. So everyone is okay. Does West Branch really deserve this? But now they get to prove it because they play a really good Alliance team this week. I think West Branch is the team on this list that has the most to prove in week 8.
Yeah, I mean the Ridgewood win was a good case for West Branch, but I could sympathize with some of the other people and play devil's advocate when you see Howland, Minerva, Marlington, only 2 wins in those 3 teams the last 3 weeks. So I could see some people questioning West Branch being here, but these are the 3 weeks to Alliance, Carrollton, Salem, where West Branch can showcase exactly why they deserve it. But we've also, to be fair, if this is also a case where West Branch drops them, you might also see another team be able to sneak right back into these power rankings.
Right. And
because I tell you what, there's a Beaver Local, there's a Brookfield, there's an Ursuline. I mean, there's plenty of teams on the outside looking in.
Brookfield, I think Garfield's still right there. You can't forget about them. They're a 1-loss team. So yeah, if West Branch moves out, if they drop to Alliance, then there are plenty of teams nipping at the bud to take their spot.
When you're in those top 10, man, you got to defend it. And West Branch,
Middle Ridge is still a 1-loss team.
There's plenty of solid teams too on the outside looking in too for the power rankings, and that spot is the seats are always hot at this table of the top 10.
I think Middle Ridge's chance is when they play Lowville. Like if they play Lowville, they beat Lowville, they might get their spot in the.
I think so. Honestly, if you look at, I mean, that's kind of the risk reward factor, right? With Lowville, when we talk about their schedule, when you say you only play the teams that are in front of you, right? You get rewarded for beating those teams. You drop a game like that to Mineral Ridge, Lowville can risk dropping completely off this list if they drop a game to Ridge, I feel.
Right.
And so, that's a dangerous game.
Look, Lowville's getting a lot of respect by now, but with the way the voting has went all year, I think 1 loss, I feel like the voters would just say forget about Lowville.
It's tough with those smaller schools that don't play up divisions too,
right.
with the way that these voters vote. And I mean, 1 loss, you're expected to win. You gotta get those dubs.
Here's interesting news. Like Canfield, they do play this week, but they play winless East. So you wonder, like, are teams that have jump them? Does the winner of Valley and Southern jump up into the top
I
six?
would say, honestly, I'd say so. At least for a placeholder, it might not be where Canfield finishes in the top 10. And I know some people get upset or angry week to week if they see their team jumping or dropping. Well, not jumping necessarily, but dropping off the list or dropping down the list. But I feel like you got to play with the times too, and you got to play it week to week. It's called the power rankings for week 7. So power rankings for week 8. Yeah, Canfield's supposed to win that game, I feel, right? Like, you're heavily favored in that one. This is a big game between Valley and Southern. And I think for week 8, yeah, I think because Canfield has one last game, and this is a big game between Valley and Southern, you might see some voters for at least that week. You might see them be able to jump.
Help me out. Who does JFK have this week?
JFK will be playing St. Thomas Aquinas. They're 0-6, and they're Division 7, the only Division 7 team on JFK's schedule. So again, a very winnable. You expect JFK to.
Then you wonder if West Branch beats Alliance, and Alliance would be in the power rankings if they were to play. Do they jump JFK? Because that's a big win for West Branch.
It's tough to say. Because people might also like the idea of prospect of putting winner of Valley Southern there too. It's tough. It's tough to say because I feel like Valley Southern, the winner should jump a little bit, but I don't know because there's
Ty. We need to know what Gina is talking about because she says they are canceled this week.
What is it, Lowville? It might be Lowville. And, I mean, I would assume Lucentes are from Lowville.
I know that, but like I haven't heard anything, and this might be breaking news. They're
supposed to play McDonald, right? Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, we'll find out. Let's get to the bottom of it right here on Running Point.
JFK. Well, JFK is canceled.
JFK is canceled this week. Okay. So again, I mean, that's kind of like Canfield then, Ant, where JFK, it's like they're in that top 5, but JFK might drop, and then it might be a perfect opportunity for like a West Branch or a Valley Southern, whoever wins that one, to get into the top 5. I mean, that would be kind of cool too if you have Valley Southern, then you have representation from literally 5 different conferences as well.
Yeah, that's a real big chance to get. Oh man, because West Branch wins, who gets the top 5 if West Branch and Valley and Southern?
It's either way, it's 5 different conferences, and that's what's really.
You have to give the edge in my opinion, the edge to the winner of Valley and Southern because they would be undefeated. At the end of the day, I lean a little bit towards undefeated. I know that'd be a big win for West Branch to beat Alliance, but I feel like if they both win. Well, actually, someone's going to win Southern Valley. So whoever wins that game.
I'm going to say depending on how they win. If it's like a close game between Valley and Southern and West Branch blows out Alliance, like wins by 21, I might be convinced.
Yeah, okay, that's true. That's the eye test counts a little bit.
I test them a little bit, but I mean, same thing though on the other end. If Valley or Southern, either way, if one of those teams wins big, that's got to be convincing. Like, imagine Valley does it to Southern, and then you have it against the Southern and United. That's tough to argue against Valley at that point, not moving them up.
Yeah, it would be a much more contested argument for Southern Local because that'd be their first big win.
Yeah, of
the year.
It's tough. It's not easy, but that's why everyone gets a vote, and that's why we see everyone represented, right?
Canfield actually has a chance to stay where they are because you almost think that they would be put ahead of JFK even if they beat East because JFK would be idle unless they pick up a game.
Yeah.
So JFK might drop just for not playing. They might drop all the way to 8.
I agree. I don't know about 8, but yeah, maybe.
Well, yeah, because look, if West Branch and Valley both win, they have to sneak up there to 5 and 6, however you want to vote. And then, like, Canfield will at least get a win on their schedule. So you think
that's true.
No one knows. This is just me, so no one knows how the voters vote. But you would think Canfield would stay where they are if they win. And if JFK doesn't play a game, there's only one other place to put them.
Because the voters kind of punish Canfield for not playing this week, and that's fair. I think that's completely fair. But I feel like you got to stay consistent with it. So, yeah, a win is better than not playing at all, in my opinion. So if Canfield goes out, plays a football game, gets a win, JFK can't get a game in time. I feel like that's a definite opportunity for Canfield to at least, like you said, stay where they are, where JFK gonna drop. I don't think you drop them off the list. I don't think that's deserved at all. They're still one of the best teams in the area.
Devil's advocate for Canfield fans are sitting there saying we beat West Branch. We should just be ahead of them because we've already beat them. Period.
True.
It's an argument. It's an argument.
A very fair argument.
Head-to-head. It's a head-to-head matchup. Canfield beat you. You know, they have a much more impressive body of work. I don't know. It's interesting.
And, I mean, there's teams too. I mean, there's plenty of teams that are on the outside looking in that are making cases and arguments to join this top 10, and it's not easy ranking 10 teams. That's what we say, and that's why we have so many people voting for it.
Yeah. So we will definitely see what goes on with that. So we will take a break. When we come back, we'll preview the. Yeah, let me pop this power rankings off. We will preview the Knights matchups, and then we'll get out of here on Running Point. Brought to you by Greenwood Chevrolet in Austintown.
At Greenwood Chevrolet, we offer a worry-free experience for all our customers. From sales to financing and even service, we'll help build your perfect vehicle
and lock in your trade value
while your vehicle is being built.
No worries.
We guarantee financing,
regardless of your situation or credit history. No worries. And when your vehicle needs service,
our award-winning team will get you back on the road.
No worries.
That's what going the extra mile means. Only at Greenwood Chevrolet.
Change. This one word can make you break out in a cold sweat. But with change comes wisdom, experience, and understanding. At Myers Family Insurance, we can help make changes in Medicare, insurance, and retirement a positive experience for you and your family. We've gone through changes, like our new office and new faces to help our family of clients too.
For all your Medicare needs, call Myers Family Insurance. Check us out online at myersfamilyins.com or find us on Facebook.
You're not waiting to see what the world has in store for you. It's more about what you have in store for the world. All you need is the opportunity. All you need are the resources of a large university and the advantages of a personalized academic setting where you can experience new worlds in the arts and sciences, business, and education and make them your own. We are where you shape your future. We are Youngstown State University and proud.
Hi, I'm Colin Chupa. And I'm Kelsey Clem from K-Squared Marketing. Our boutique marketing firm specializes in media planning and buying, public relations, event marketing strategies, and strategic sponsorships. We can integrate our services with your existing game plan, or we can be your entire marketing team. Your goals, our game plan. Let's win together. Call K-Squared Marketing at 330-623-2730 or visit ksquared.marketing to learn more.
When looking for home design inspiration, don't just be inspired, be Baird inspired. Whether new or remodeling, Baird Brothers has the latest trends like shiplap to refresh your home. Go from inspiration to installation with our wide selection of in-stock American hardwoods. From the rustic charm of antique oak to the warmth of traditional cherry, Baird Brothers has what you need to make your home inspiring. Baird Brothers, our family's heritage, your family's home.
Quality, customer service, and integrity. Those are the 4 words that have driven our success since 1957 at Joe Dickey Electric.
Joe Dickey Electric is one Mahoning Valley landmark business that stays current with the requirements of our customers. Family owned and managed, we are an electrical contractor and energy solutions provider. Every member of our team adds to his or her skill set through ongoing training. Residential, commercial, industrial, automotive, and more. We keep ahead of the needs of our customers with a fleet of more than 50 vehicles and 24/7 emergency service, so you're never left in the dark.
WRS Wealth Advisors, the area's premier wealth and retirement specialists. Located on South Avenue in Boardman.
Your teams work hard and give it all they've got. Well, so does ours, because 21 Sports and YSN give you extra effort when covering local sports. 21 Sports and YSN, winning coverage of our Valley's teams.
Hi, I want to tell you about my Tricia Yearwood home collection available at Sheely's Furniture. With 2 locations serving Ohio and Pennsylvania, Sheely's is one of the country's top sellers of my home collection. And the best part? At Sheely's, you never have to wait for a sale. They offer everyday low pricing as well as a price match guarantee, so you can shop the Tricia Yearwood home collection with confidence. Come see my collection with something to offer for every room in your home and get it all with free local delivery, only at Sheely's Furniture.
Welcome back to Running Point on ysnlive.com. Anthony Hartwig with you as we will run down the schedule on tonight's games covered by the network. We have 8 total games tonight between volleyball and soccer, 6 volleyball, 2 soccer games. And we will start with Carrollton at Beaver Local. Mike McKenzie will have the call. 7 o'clock is your first serve. Should be a good one. Carrollton, we saw them knock off undefeated East Liverpool last week, so they'll bring a lot of momentum into that Beaver Local game. Should be a fun match in Beaver Local. East Liverpool, aforementioned, they will take their 1-loss record into Crestview and take on the undefeated Rebels. This will be a big game, non-conference test for Crestview. 7 o'clock first serve there. Chris Sigler will have the call. Gerard travels to West Branch for a non-conference test for the Indians. As we get closer and closer to the tournament time, a lot of these teams looking for out-of-conference tests. And that one will be a little bit earlier start. West Branch will start their JV at 5. Varsity is slated for about 6:30, depending on how long or short that JV game is. So it should be a little bit of earlier start in a West Branch tonight. We have Matthews traveling to Lowville. Noah Ricks will have the call on this one. 7 o'clock first serve for that. Springfield goes to Poland for an interesting matchup between a Springfield team that has won 5 games in a row. They are now above 500 as their record, 8-7. They got the win over Cardinal Mooney on Saturday to move their record up above 500. They will go to Poland. 7 o'clock first serve there. Richie Giuliano and Anthony Romo will both have the call for you from the Poland Fieldhouse. And then DJ Oakley the school making the trek to Orange as they will host the Urban Scholars. That'll be a 6 o'clock start. So the night starts at 6. You'll have about a 6:30 start for West Branch and then a 7 o'clock start for the rest of the slate. Volleyball, and then you go into girls soccer on the network. Canfield will travel to Austintown Fitch. Canfield still undefeated in the AAC. They'll look to keep that up. Matt Mayer will have the call there. South Range girls will travel to Struthers, and that'll be a 7 o'clock kickoff for that one. Bob Zanny will have the call. 7:15 kickoff at Austintown Fitch for that game with Matt Mayer on the call there. Some of the games that are happening in the YSN family to keep an eye on. Campbell Memorial travels to Heartland Christian. That should be a good game on the volleyball court. 6:30 is the first serve there. Boardman will travel to Salem at 7 o'clock. East Canton goes to Southern at 7 o'clock. Liberty travels to Western Reserve, 7 o'clock first serve there. Middle Ridge goes across the other side of the MVAC for the matchup at LeBray. And then Union Area will be at Mohawk. 7:30 start there for volleyball as well. Other soccer games going on. We have Brookfield at Waterloo. Waterloo is still a very good soccer team. Just that one tie to champion in the AAC. They got out the big win over Springfield last week to complete the season sweep of the Tigers. Kara English still on track for that record-breaking career in her junior season at Waterloo. Ursuline will travel to United tonight, 6 o'clock kickoff there. And then we have Poland traveling to Hubbard. Poland looking to wrap up an NE8 championship as they continue NE8 play tonight at Hubbard. So that'll be the games that are happening. Once again, 8 games on the network tonight. You can head over to ysnlive.com/live to check out the schedule and the live game links. All games are free thanks to our wonderful sponsors. As for tomorrow's show from 12 to 2, we are going to have Troy Davis, the head coach of the Louisville football team, join us live on the show at 12:15 to talk about the big win over Green on Friday. Can't wait to talk to him. And, as we said earlier in the show, Leopards are right there on that playoff spot, sitting 18. And with their independent schedule, they have a definite chance to crack their way into the top 16 this year. So we'll talk to him live as well. Also live on the show tomorrow, Brianna Holt, one of the senior leaders of the Springfield girls soccer team, will join us at about 1:40. We will also have interviews to play and share with you from Grace Hour from Crestview, Abby M from Crestview, both on the Crestview volleyball team. And then we'll also have an interview to play for you from Eric Geddes, the quarterback of Garfield football. He will be an interview that we'll get tomorrow morning, actually, right before the show. So all that and more on tomorrow's episode of Running Point from 12 to 2. Casual Sports Podcast coming up next from 2 to 3 as they'll talk about the games that they were able to be at over the weekend. Then the Power Hour has you covered from 3 to 4. More in-depth analysis of the power rankings. You'll get more comments, more insight from more voters, actually. It's nice to hear point of views from all of our different voters at YSN. So you'll be able to hear all that on the Power Hour from 3 to 4. And then once again, 8 games on the network tonight between soccer and volleyball. And it will all start at 6 o'clock. 6 o'clock start to that night as Orange will be on the network at 6:30-ish start in West Branch, and then 7 o'clock everywhere else. So make sure you fill your night with YSN. Head over to ysnlive.com/live to find all the games on the network tonight. Anthony Harvick signing off once again. Casual Sports Podcast coming up next from 2 to 3, Power Hour from 3 to 4, and I will see you tomorrow after a 22-hour break